Hey everyone, welcome back from a long weekend. Kind of planning for the rest of the year. I hope you're all well, and I miss you. I'm going to keep saying that because it gets worse every day. Hey, today's video will cover 2 days um, for this week. Wednesday's not going to be a reading day because we just want to wrap things up this week, and so I'd like to make sure that that happens. And our quote for the day comes straight up related to this assignment. So this is Carnage the Executioner, and he's a rapper, beatboxer in Minneapolis. And if you look him up, his videos, you will blow your mind. He's an amazing talent. He says, "I might need some advice from you." This quote directly comes from this interview. So he's saying that to one of you, another student. That's how good that interview went. And it was because this person was very, very prepared. Their questions were great. And they were super fired up to interview this person. And so they wanted the interview, they wanted the information. So, anyway, that's the way to start today. The agenda for today is this. Well, basically, continue booking or conducting interviews. Start writing a pithy article that uses your interview's quotes on Google Docs. I'll get to that in a second. And answer a psychological study from Mr. Slaby to see just uh, how mentally you guys work. I guess that's the way I want to see. Like this thing will determine, in some ways, maybe that you have certain there's differences between the way that you guys think. Anyway, that's for last. The last thing I'm going to say here before I go into the assignment is those of you that have not jumped in, if you watch today's video and you're like, Mr. Slaby, I don't know what's going on, email me, ask for a Zoom meeting, ask some questions. I guarantee you, I can get you caught up if you're willing to work. And it's not too late where it's going to overwhelm you and there's no way you can catch up unless you choose that. Bottom line is, if you want to get caught up, I can get you caught up and I can make it. It's going to require a little bit of work, but it's not overwhelming. That's up to you, though. At this point, with this much, we have about 5 weeks left. It's up to you. I'm going to keep reaching out, but you got to do the work. All right, so here's the thing. Let's say, Mr. Slaby, I have my interview. What do I do next? And here's my answer to that. The assignment next is to take 3 really good quotes from your interview and put them word for word into a pithy article explaining about the origin of the person you interview. Okay, here's the thing. Pithy. Let's define that first. Pithy means short and to the point, very little wasted language or words. So this is not like a long journal of your description of this person. This is like to the point, here's the information I have and here's what it means. Origin is the background belief system that makes a person who they are today. So you're going to tell the story of how this person became who they are. And it might be more related to their belief system. It might be more related to what they do. And so being pithy is like a reporter. A reporter gets the information and then they report it. They don't go into their own beliefs and systems about like what they think. This is not an I statement pithy article. This is a they and he or she. This is third person only. We don't care about your opinion. Even if you are amazed by this person, we don't want to hear I. Your opinion has to show up as a third person explanation. Okay, so the form, I've actually given you kind of the outline. It's really about 3 paragraphs. You have these things. So you start with a hook, that's like a sentence, and then provide a telling quote. So each paragraph is like take one quote and then explain how that quote relates to the person. How did that quote, like, what's the story behind that quote? That's it. That's hook, paragraph about one quote, paragraph about another quote, and paragraph about your best quote, and then wrap up your conclusion in that same paragraph. That's 3 paragraphs. How am I grading this? Number 1, grammar and mechanics. We have to get better and we have to practice good mechanics and grammar. Your high school career is going to depend on that. Using a quote correctly, we've done this, so I'm going to make sure that you understand the basics of that, and I'm going to remind you in a second. And then the quality of information, that's an easy 3, because if you had a good interview, it's all good. I am just glad you did it. Now, how to correctly use a quote. If you remember, punctuation goes inside the quotations, and then we got to use commas and periods correctly. So here are 3 ways to write a quote in your pithy article. You can't really do it any differently. You can end the quote. So start with this part where we have, it's called attribution. Brian Krause once declared. We put a comma there, quotation, and then we end it with a period inside the quotation, and that sentence is done. Here's another example. I'll start with a quote. Quotation, Colin Slaby is my best friend in the whole wide world, comma, quotation, explain Brian Krause. That's where the period goes. Doesn't go there, it goes there, because that's the end of the sentence. And thirdly, quotation starts it out, Colin Slaby, then I have a comma and a quotation because I interrupt the quote with Brian Krause once stated. I use another comma to go back to is my best friend in the whole wide world, and that period goes at the end. So use this as a model. All right. Again, the samples that I gave you from Thursday, use them as a way to look at as look at like some examples of how to do this. It's the model I want you to look at. They're longer than I want you to do, but they still show what I want. They have a picture of the person, and then they have the article next to it. Okay? All right. A couple more things. So here's the days, what your outline for today should be. Number 1, priority, get your interview done. That's first foremost. Email me with questions, or email the person the questions, or set up a Zoom, phone, or Google Meet interview. That's better, but who knows? 2, extract at least 3 interesting and valuable quotes from your interview transcript. The transcript is the written portion of your interview. You don't have to do that unless it's an email. If it's a video, then you just got to make sure you pause and get word for word the right quotation, word for word, exactly as your interview said it. And then you will format them correctly using the little model I just showed you. 3, after you get your 3 quotes, then start writing the rough draft for the pithy article. This will be due Friday. But here's the thing. Follow the outline I gave you in the pithy article assignment, which is right here. Okay? It's going to be in Schoology. It's all right there. It tells you what the requirements are. It tells you the assignment requirements. So read the directions. And then this is your outline. If you follow this right here, you will be just fine. It will write the thing for you. Now, I didn't do it. I didn't like take your hand and give you a fill in the blank. I want you to have to think. But those are the items you need. And if you follow that, you'll be good to go. All right. So also, you need to share your Google Doc with Mr. Slaby. I am not putting it as an assignment yet. So share the Google Doc. That's how you'll get feedback from me. And lastly is our 4th item here is to take Mr. Slaby's psychological study challenge, and that is this. This is a fun little experiment where I want you to fill in these words with letters to create a word and then share that with me from Schoology. This would be like GL space space. I might say, oh, that's the word glue. And then the next one might be, the next one is hater. If there's a pattern, it might reveal itself that the kinds of words you fill these letters in with just might be interesting to look at. So there we go. So that's for today, and that's for tomorrow. I'm always here with questions. I hope to be seeing some of you soon.